Okay, we are here. Thank you so much for your patience. We are now live. Thank you. We're sorry for the delays. Good evening, everyone. My name is Antoinette, and we are the Joshua Johnson Council. I am the chair. The Joshua Johnson Council is the affiliate group at the Baltimore Museum of Art. It's the African American affiliate group, I should say, and clarify. We are one of the oldest African American friends group in the nation. Some 38 years old now. Joshua Johnson Council was established to connect the Black community with the museum, first by simply increasing our attendance, then influencing the museum's exhibitions and programs. And we furthered our work by directly engaging with the local artist community by, well, pre-COVID, we were visiting artist studios and bringing them into the museum. And then we started to open our conversations up via Facebook Live. And so tonight, we are here to welcome into the fold one of our young artists, Rakisha Metzger. So Dave, I'm actually going to turn it over to you to actually officially introduce our artist for the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Antoinette. And folks, thank you so much for your patience. 2 years into COVID and technical difficulties still exist. I'm Dave Isa. I'm the Director of Public Engagement here at the BMA. Like Antoinette said, JJC Talks has been our COVID pivot that has turned into how we operate. You can check out our YouTube channel and Facebook on the BMA's platform, where you can see the over 15 artist talks we've had already from really incredible artists and curators and administrators working here in Baltimore. Tonight, we're really excited to hear from Rakisha Metzger. I'm not going to go into her substantial bio, but I will say that the part that I was most blown away by is that Rakisha is currently an adjunct professor at MICA, a working mother, an art teacher at Hammond Christian School, as well as a student at the Institute for Doctoral Studies in Visual Arts, pursuing a degree in philosophy, aesthetics, and art theory. We're really excited to have you here tonight to hear about your work, to learn a little bit more about us. So now I'm going to pass along to you. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. Thanks, Rakisha.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dave, and thank you, Antoinette. Thank you to the JJC Council and BMA for inviting me, and all my friends that have tuned in and family, and then all of the people that I have not had the pleasure of meeting as of yet. Thank you so much for coming to hear me talk about my work. Because we are, kind of just getting started with all these technical difficulties that we've had in the last couple seconds, I'm not going to prolong all of this talking. I want to actually get into my work. So a couple of the things that I do want to say before I get started is that I do have a couple videos that are going to take a few seconds to get started. But I always like to start with this one video before I get into my work, just so that we all kind of come on this plain slate. And also with that introduction that you got from me with me being a mother, a student, an adjunct professor, and all of those things, the last time somebody introduced me, they said, then how are you here? And I think I wonder the same thing sometimes. I'm here because I am able to do the things that I do. I guess it's by the grace of God, that I'm able to do those things. So I'm going to share my screen and go ahead and get into this work that I do. So Rakisha Metzger as community artist, I have Black mother, that's important to me. It is also informed some of the work that I do within community with community, and then how I show up in the world as an artist, philosopher, as a student, as a lifelong learner, and all of the other things. So sometimes when people introduce me, I always say, who is that person? I want to know them. And then I'm like, oh, that's me, but I still want to know me. So I try to show up as my true, authentic self whenever I have an opportunity to share myself within different spaces. So here's the video. You know what? I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I did not share my sound. Oh, I did. Nope, I did do that. Okay. We're going back to the video again. All right. Can you hear the sound? Okay.
I'll get out of all your boxes. I'll get out. You can't hold me in these chains. I'll get out. Father, free me from this bondage. Knowing my condition is the reason I must change. Your stinking resolution is no type of solution, preventing me from freedom, maintaining your pollution. I won't support your lie no more. I won't even try no more. If I have to die, oh Lord, that's how I choose to live. I won't be compromised no more. I can't be victimized no more. I just don't sympathize no more. 'Cause now I understand. You just wanna use me. You say love then abuse me. You never thought you'd lose me, but how quickly we forget that nothing is for certain. You thought I'd stay here hurting. Your guilt trip's just not working, repressing me to death. 'Cause now I'm choosing life, yo. I'll take the sacrifice, yo. If everything must go, then go. That's how I choose to live. Okay, we're getting there. At least I had a chunk. Okay, it's how I choose to live. No more compromises. I see past your disguises, blinding through mind control, stealing my eternal soul, appealing through material to keep me as your slave. But I'll get out. Oh, I'll get out of all your boxes. I'll get out. Oh, you can't hold me in these chains. I'll get out. Oh, I want out of social bondage. Knowing my condition, oh, is the reason I must change. See, what you see is what you get. Oh, and you ain't seen nothing yet. Oh, I don't care if you're upset. I could care less if you're upset. See, you don't change the truth. And your hurt feelings no excuse to keep me in this box. Psychological locks, repressing true expression, cementing this repression, promoting mass deception so that no one can be healed. I don't respect your system. I won't protect your system. When you talk, I don't listen. Oh, let my Father's will be done. And just get out. Oh, just get out of all this bondage. Just get out. Oh, you can't hold me in these chains. Just get out. Oh, these traditions killing freedom. Everyone believe that you're the sole authority. Just follow the majority, afraid to face reality. The system is a joke. Oh, you'd be smart to save your soul. Oh, and escape this mind control. You spend your life in sacrifice to a system for the dead. Oh, are you sure? Where's the passion in this living? Are you sure it's God you're serving? Obligated to a system, getting less than you're deserving. Who made up these schools, I say? Who made up these rules, I say? Animal conditioning, or just to keep us as a slave, or just get out of this social purgatory. Just get out. Oh, these traditions are a lie. Just get out. Superstition killing freedom. Knowing my condition is the reason I must die. Just get out. Just get out. Just get out. Let's get out. Let's get out.
All right. I'm actually going to keep talking. I'm going to go through my slide as I talk. So this work that you're going to see is me as a community artist from 2008 to 2022. That piece that you just saw was work from my 2009 thesis at MICA. And so although the work was from that time, it's such a timely message that Lauryn Hill did this, the song I Get Out on her MTV Unplugged album almost, or actually 20 years ago. And so, while my video, I say that it's dated, the message is still the same. And I think that the emotions and the visceral feelings that you get from what actually was taking place in that moment, you get to feel, what it is to get out. And so that's what I want to just kind of share about getting out of spaces where we feel that we are trapped in. I know we can't get out necessarily right now on this Zoom call, but through the connections that we are making in this screen, we are actually outside of those boxes, although we are still in, the boxes on the screen. But we are connecting to each other through this way of technology and the way that, the world has shifted us to be able to connect together on this platform. So I'm just gonna, like I said, go through 2008 to 2022, talk about some of the things that I've been doing. And I will try to slow down with how fast I'm talking right now, just because I'm trying to speed up to make sure I'm able to show all of the work that I wanna present here. So this is my time from 2008 as a community artist when I first started off at Jubilee Arts, where I was out in the community just trying to get people interested. And getting people interested, this is what I was presenting to them, this building right here. So before Jubilee Arts was a building that actually look the way that it looks now, with the murals, with the art in the window and everything else. This was the building that I was standing in front of, and I called this my art table. So I would stand outside on the corner and have passerbyers come and create art. I was trying to use that space to activate the space where people could actually, from the community, and the Jubilee Arts is located on the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and Pressman in West Baltimore and Sandtown Winchester neighborhood or community. And so the people, they would walk by and they would be excited to just be able to create art on this table. Like some people would say, I haven't created or, did anything with paint in a long time. And so this is so great. So I always I take this or talk about this person right here because this is Dr. Toombs. And so as I was out there on the corner one day, he came and he asked me, did I want to help him to paint a mural? So we built this relationship because of this community art table, or this art table that I was doing on the community during my time there. And you'll see in a couple of slides, the mural that my name is actually on that I helped create because of the connections that I was making out on that corner. This is the way that Jubilee Arts was in operation before we actually had the building up and running. We were at different schools, different community centers. We got donations. And I was just so excited that people were this is my excited face here. I was so excited that people were so interested in what we were doing. And I was like, yes, we got supplies. People are donating. They believe in what we do. And so because I'm all about community and all about positivity in community and the way that we are sharing, I took that picture with all of the supplies in the back. So here's Dr. Toombs again, as you can see, with his green hat on. And so I said, when I was signing my name on this mural, I put my first name because I said, well, I don't want to go by my last name. I said, because I know that at some point my last name will change. So I made sure that my name was there. I don't know why this is going on. It wants to do its own thing. But that's technology for you. But I'm going to be in control of this for right now. So that was the mural. So you'll see it. The mural is still up off of Pennsylvania Avenue and maybe 2 blocks down from Pressman, if anybody's interested in stopping past there. The next slide this is where I was working as at CCDC as one of I think it was a non-credited course, and talking about I was teaching a collage class, but that was another way that I built community, because the person that was teaching it before, actually Maya Freelon, Sante at the time, she was teaching a class, and she was like, I have this class that, you know, if you want to teach, she was like, it's open and I can, you know, put your name there. So I was able to teach that course through the community building and relationships that we were building with each other. And she'd known my husband from undergrad. So those connections that help us to build community is what, when people can rely on you to and know you as a person, that they come and ask and they know your character. So they know that, you know, you are the right person for the job. From there, while I was in the MFACA program and graduated in 2009, I was still working at Jubilee Arts, but it was this program called the Art of Solidarity. And so I was able to go to Nicaragua in 2010, and here I am with a couple of my cohort members from the MFACA program. And we are creating, we're painting a mural on I believe this was the youth center there, and the youth came up with the concepts. We just filled them in as the professional artists, if you will, while the youth actually helped with the concepts and then also what they wanted to see. And then we also produced a video from that. And here, this is one of my good friends, Maura, and she also works here in one of the community centers or community centers here in Baltimore. This is Jubilee Arts now. Again, that building that I showed you from before, with some of the work that my husband helped to collaborate on, and I collaborated with him. And because of that connection that I had, they hired him to do some of this work here with talking about the way that the community used to be, what it used to look like. He has a friend whose grandfather actually had some of these photos of Pennsylvania Avenue. So they were able to get those and actually put these as a semi-permanent installation. So what happens is that when they don't have the installation of other artists, they are rotating in between the shows. They'll put this back up as the installation. Well, they used to do it. I haven't seen since COVID if they're still doing that, but that was the purpose of it. From here, this is my class that I was working with as a counselor at the Free State Challenge Academy. And so it was an academy for children or youth that was 16 through 18 years old that would come to get their high school diplomas. And in that second chance program, because I was in the military, I was able to use my military background to be not just a cadre, but then also a counselor. And from there, the relationship that I had with Morgan State, because I graduated from Morgan State as well. And from Morgan State, I brought my students from Free State up to Morgan State, again, collaborating with my husband's class at the time, where my students, those 16-year-old at-risk youth, they were able to come in and teach the college students three-dimensional design, 3D printing. And with those 3D prints, they saw themselves in college at that point. They said, oh, we are not even old enough to be in college, but they were going to college campuses, and they saw that those students were only 2 and 3 years older than they were. So it gave them an opportunity to look at what it is that they could actually do while they were teaching. So some of these students right here with the fatigues on, these are the students, and then these are the Morgan students sitting next to them while my students who were in the program was teaching 3D printing. So then in 2015, we went to the activist march with what happened with Freddie Gray. We had Zion at the time. Zion was 6 months. So we got interviewed by Amy Goodman. And so he was trying to take the microphone, and she wanted to know why he was there. And I told them, you know, as a 6-month-old baby, I want him to know that his life matters. You know, right now we see him as he's biracial. So I say, you know, he's biracial, but when he grows up, you know, all of that goes out the window for some reason. People don't start looking at people like, oh, you have a Black child. You know, when we talk about President Obama, we say our first Black president. We don't say our biracial president or anything like that. You know, when we start talking about, you know, the vice president, same thing, you know, our first Black female vice president. So, and this is an important image, because as I go along to talk about one of the pieces that I did with Zion on there now as a child, it'll inform the reason why this piece actually speaks to why I said it was important for him to be there at the age that he was, with him being 6 months. So at the same time, my husband, again, when working at Morgan State, we collaborated together with bringing our son into the space. So this is us. This is my husband here holding my son, and I'm on the end. But this was his Inside Out project that he did that went down to Art Basel, and he was able to speak on a panel. And you see Zion has the mic again, and he's always wanting to be, and he's here, wanting to be in the forefront, and always thinking about like how art impacts him, how he can use his art to make change. This is another piece that my husband did. This one is off of Harford Road. And so the way that, I was, I think 7 months pregnant or so here, maybe not 7 months pregnant. I may have been, I think 5 months pregnant. So I wasn't climbing on and off the building, but I did come and help support bringing my husband different things that he needed to create this piece, but then also gave him the name, I Am That I Am. And so when you think about, again, what that means in this big picture, and these people say, I am an artist, I am learning, I am alive. What is I Am That I Am? Who are we as creators? Where do we get our creative ideas from and our creativity? So here I went to an Ecuador professional preparation program in 2016, and this is my sister here. Her name is Dr. Lania Richardson. So we work together. We have a business called Selah Mind, Body, Spirit. So we do have a Facebook page, and we have a Instagram page, so you can go find out more about what we do. But basically it's about bringing women back to a place where they feel connected to their mind, body, and spirit, bringing mothers to that place. And as Black mothers, and the traumas and different things that we face, and sometimes things that happen in our lives, we're not heard, sometimes we're ignored, sometimes we are seen as invisible. We want to bring attention to those things, and then also give resources and different ways to be able to cope with those things. So my sister being a counselor with her background, and then also she calls herself an artist, a healer. And through the work that she does, we together have collaborated since, I think for 10 years now, with bringing the arts and sciences together. Here, I think that this picture is like this first moment that I had to go back to a place where I was born. So in my bio, I talk about how I was born in Philadelphia. And so even some of my travels have influenced and informed the way that I think about community. So I was born in Philly. And so I went to Deb Willis's Went Looking for Beauty, Refashioning Self in 2018. And I felt this rebirth that happened within myself. And I'm saying that because I was able to then see myself and see what it was that I was doing, where I was going. And again, it was back in my hometown that it actually happened. And so it was this transformative experience that happened. And so from there, I was asked to be the interim education director at OpenWorks. So here I am as the interim education director at OpenWorks, another one of my cohort members, which I'm going to go back just here, Laura Cohen. She asked me to, come there for her as the interim education director for the time that she was there. So she remembered, and we had that relationship. And that's, again, the community bond, the community building that, people can trust you. They can call you back. They can, they know that you have what it is that they need or that they're looking for, to be able to use your skills, and again, in a way that you can connect community and connect their job and what it is that they're doing when, we are working together here. So this was another project that my husband and I collaborated on. This is at Bridges Bridges Loft. And this mural design was done by Andrea Pippins, and it is up in, is across from Belvedere Square, up in the loft area where Bridges students go after school. I'm not for sure if they are still doing that, because a pandemic have changed a whole lot of things. But this is the actual mural as we were painting it. And then this is the finished piece. This is just some details of how it looked during the process. And so in between that time, again, I've had had my baby, and I had two at this time. And so I wanted to, it was a question that I was talking to my mother-in-law about, and it was about breastfeeding, because my mom, she had three kids by the age of 17. So her first child, she had at 15, my brother, she had me at 16, and my other brother at 17. And so we weren't breastfed, we were bottle fed. And so in seeing that, you know, my mother-in-law, she couldn't believe that, you know, like even today, Black women are not being told that, you know, it's okay to breastfeed, or again, they have these stigmas around it. And it's not this old information, it's still information that's out there that still talks about these facts. And so I try to, through my work, use it in a creative way to be able to create, again, change, and then also inform people that, you know, this is what the disparities that we face sometimes as Black women, as Black mothers, again, and then the kind of psychological issues that go on with that. Because the other thing is that, you know, what happens and why we can't breastfeed is because they tell us we got to get to work. And if we don't get to work, then, you know, we are lazy. But again, if you got the formula, you can just shake the bottle up, give it to the baby, and then you don't have to not go to work, so that you can actually make money to be able to pay your bills. So it's a whole lot of systems and a whole lot of things that's connected to that. So I did this video in response to that kind of question, and then also conversation that I had with my mother-in-law.
Is the best milk. It's the blessed milk. Yes, that's my milk. My breast milk is the best milk. Is the blessed milk. Yes, that's my milk. My baby was born of just skin and bones. Imagine as a first-time mom, seeing him and feeling so alone. His skin did not look as dark as mine, but that was my baby, and his life was on the line. I wanted him to get better, and the one thing that I thought to do was to breastfeed, because it was so natural. Looking at a study done in 2008, it found that race was a variable in breastfeeding rates. White women knew what to do from the very start. Black women were told they weren't very smart. Like my mom, who had 3 kids by age 17, the nurses didn't encourage her to fulfill her dream of feeding her kids the most natural way. And would you believe that still happens today? So Black women rise up, because we fit the mold. Let's give our Black babies that real liquid gold. My breast milk is the best milk. It's the blessed milk. Yes, that's my milk.
So that was, again, in response to the, you know, breastfeeding, my mother having a child at, or 3 kids at 17. And then again, what was it that, you know, she was to do? And I was saying that the doctors told her that she wasn't very smart, because they asked her, are we going to see you again here next year? And so she always remembered those words. And so she felt shame. She didn't, you know, even when she tried to breastfeed, they told her not to, that she didn't know what she was doing, and no one came around to help. Now, you know, we have lactation consultants now, but even with my child, when I first had him, I said that I wanted him to be breastfed. And instead of them bringing him to me to be breastfed, because he was on all of the wires and things, they actually bottle fed him. And on the card, it actually says breastfed baby, but they, you know, denied, I guess, what I wanted, and did what they wanted anyway. But then they did come around and you know, give me the syringes, but that was after the fact, because again, I questioned it, and I had to have an emergency C-section where I actually was put under. So I didn't know what was actually going on, and out of it, I think for, you know, a couple hours, because it was a little bit of complications as well. So in my bio, you also will see, again, the fact that I was in the military. I use my background as a person, or as a vet, to be able to bring other vets together. So because I worked at OpenWorks, I then ended up working as the youth and family coordinator there, but I'm also a member of the Wounded Warrior Project. And so in being a member there, I had a class with my sister through the Selah Mind Body, our Selah Mind Body organization, where we actually had the vets to come to OpenWorks. We got a grant to be able to have these vets to come and make these rice packs, and their therapy rice packs where you can heat them up in the microwave. We put essential oils on them, and doing that, you know, the vets were able to use it for their back pain, or again, like their shoulders and different things. And then they also got a, I'm not for sure a membership, but they were able to get a certification to say that they were able to come if they wanted to actually come back to OpenWorks to use the sewing machines. So it was a twofold operation there. So this year, this year that this happened in 2019, I was the youth and family coordinator. I also worked at MICA as an adjunct faculty. And then again, with one of my other cohort members, I was now then the interim program coordinator / director at Jubilee Arts. So this is Jubilee Arts coming back around to my life and how it's been a part of my life, where I've been a part of Jubilee Arts since the start. So yeah, like I said, community connection is very important. So then in 2020, right before the pandemic happened, I actually made it to Mexico because of the program that I am in. I go to the Institute for Doctoral Studies of the Visual Arts, or shorter name, IDSVA. And I'm studying philosophy, art theory, and art aesthetics. And in doing that, we actually go to typological places in order to go to those spaces where the philosophers first had their thoughts at, what was going on at the time. So we got a chance to go see a lot of Diego Rivera's murals. We had a chance to go to see the Trotsky house where the bullets were, I guess went through the house, and we've read like what actually happened, because they tried to kill his whole family, and it was just like the tragic past that still kind of exists in that space. And the one thing that I can say for me as and having that experience is that I went to one of the museums, and a part of the museum where it was the northern part of the museums where the Black people actually were escaping slavery. They came down, and so this guy that actually lives there, he said that they came with the words of the the words to old Negro spirituals, and so that was what helped them on their journey. And being able to then speak English is the only words that they knew in English in that town that they still know today. I mean, they probably, other people know English, so I don't want to make it sound like they don't, but they knew the words to the song. And he said that the women still dressed, with their long skirts and their head wraps, because that's what their ancestors did when they came to that part of northern Mexico. And when I went into that part of the museum, I stopped in my tracks, because I could feel the energy that, again, these women and, men, Black people were, when they came, and the colonizers came, but then also they had to travel down there. It was something that stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, oh my goodness, do anybody else feel this? Do you feel what's going on? And I could feel the beat of the drum, and I thought that something was at the top of my head and was beating, and no one else around me could feel what was happening. But in the city, I felt this tension of, when we were walking around as a school, the school had majority of white, I would say, people that actually attend there, and I could see the looks, but not only see the looks, I could feel the looks. I could feel what was going on. And some things that were interesting about these murals is that they showed when the colonizers came, and how up the top of the screen, it had the colonizers leading the Native women of Mexico in the back of them, and then the babies had blue eyes. But underneath, they still had their culture. They still had all of the things that they kept and preserved before the colonizers came. So that was very interesting thing that happened. So then in the summer, again, this was George Floyd, when he died or was murdered. I did a protest piece because I was in class at the time, and I hadn't had a chance to really process my feelings. I hadn't had a chance because I was in that program and I was trying to do and write. And so when I had a chance to write, I said, I want to breathe for justice. And so I was able to write a piece. So on IDSVA website, in their newsletter, they actually have the piece that I wrote about the feelings of my, chest beating really fast, and I could feel the, the screams, and I was able to really put into words how I was feeling at that moment in class when I finally had a chance to just sit and think about the, tragic death of George Floyd. And then I made this piece with all of the, other people that were murdered by, cops. And what that actually means for me, even as a Black woman, I was saying, for me, sometimes I don't want to speak up because I don't want to be the next person, killed because of the things that I'm saying, or again, just for the color of my skin. And those are the conversations that we have to have with our children. Those are the things that we talk to them about. And they ask, well, why do they do this to Black people, Mom? Why do they do this? And then those answers, they come back as, because some people just hate people that much just because of the color of our skin, because there's no reason, right? I mean, what else do we tell them? Is, they did something, you don't have to do anything to die Black. So then in that, I got an artist residence at the Baltimore Artists Guild, County Guild in Baltimore County. I also was selected as the 2020 CCAC DEI awardee. And this was all, again, like just unfolding as, like I said, when I had that rebirth, that experience when I went back to Philly. And from there, the George Floyd piece influenced me to do these pieces. And it was because I was writing philosophy and I forgot that I was an artist. And so I said, I need to create work. And I was sitting there, and as I sat there, it was just like, stop writing and make art. And so when I did, these pieces came from it. And so My Black Mama is just a representation of what it means, again, for me to be a Black mother, to be able to have Black children that I'm raising in a way that society is not deciding, and again, telling me how my children need to be raised, or again, that I'm not your stereotypical, Black mom that you try to make it look like all Black women are, a certain way. So then my husband, he's sitting outside on the steps with one of our sons, and he's holding this sign, Black Lives Matter. It's important for me to have this image, and I put a little caption that goes along with it, and it goes to the Brown Bear by Eric Carle, like lines where it says, brown bear, what do you see? And so mine has changed until white man, what do you see? And he says, I see my Black son looking at me. Black son, what do you see? He said, I see, I can't think of it right now, but again, the end of it says, but I hope that this will change eventually. Because again, it's important, like I said, for my sons to be able to talk about the things that are going on in the world, and then also to be able to see what it is that they can do within themselves. They both are artists, they take after, I think, my husband and myself, and they're always creating something. So again, they can use their voice in a way that's effective, and again, that creates change. So then this one is Thank Black Women. This is my sister and I, again, with the organization that we're doing, but again, all of the things that Black women have done. Like, while we've been, feeding our children and taking care of our children, we've been taking care of the, slave master children and everything else as well. Again, while we were out in the field, we were going and marching and walking to find our children so that they could see our face. So Black women, again, being and having this backbone, and again, what we've been through, and we still are standing strong. It was this one philosopher that, was talking about something with, they were like, well, how do you think that these people were able to blah, blah, blah? She said, I don't feel like I can answer that, because, you should ask the people who were oppressed, how did they do it? Where did their strength come from? And so the one thing that she said is that it wasn't about power, but again, that it was about strength. And I think that Black women, they do, we do show our strength when we have to show up in spaces, even after we've worked long days, even after we've gone to school, even after we've taken care of somebody else's children and kids, and again, got to come back home to feed ours. So then this don't shoot, stop, don't shoot. This is this idea that, as a child, this is, again, that where Zion, so this is Zion from when he had the Black Power Fist and Black Lives Matter onesie on. When Black men, when they are men and they get shot for no reason, and you don't see them as that child that y'all are saying, oh, he was so cute. Black men become a threat when they are older. And so I started thinking about that again, this is how scared, or again, how a Black man will stop in his tracks, even to the point where he calls for his mother because he can't breathe. But they don't see that anymore when they, take the lives of Black men and Black people. So then more recently, I've been doing work on my Instagram posts. And so my Instagram posts made it into this exhibition called Art as an Act of Healing. And so I was doing these posts because my husband told me I wasn't using my Instagram page. And so he said, you might as well throw this away. And in him saying that, it became a challenge for me. So I started posting every day. And in those posts, I started talking about things that was happening to me, things that I was experiencing, philosophizing, I guess, in a way, because those were the things that were impacting what it is that I actually do. So these are some of the things, and then this is how it actually was laid out on the actual program. And I'm gonna move the screen over to here so that you can see, again, my more recent posts that I've had. And then I can actually just show a couple of the things and the way that I use the feed. I think I can do it. Let me see. So this, again, post says no results. So I said, when you go to look for something and you get a message that reads no results, what do? It's pretty simple. You go back to the drawing board and you start all over again. We can't do the same thing twice and expect a different result. Things are about to change. Peep that. So again, this is just the way that I start thinking about like how I'm creating change through this way and act of healing. Here's another one that one of my cohort members actually talked about and shared with the group. So I said, this is how we work together as a team. Jordan shares a space on my desk, drawing as I type my paper. With my loving arms wrapped around his body, I stretch forward to reach the keyboard, making sure not to interrupt his artistic flow. As for me, I write when I can, spending time with this little human that obviously needs his mama's attention. It's all good because we create strokes of genius, conceptualizing different kinds of workflow. So that's what this means to me, to be able to conceptualize different workflow. This little photo here, one of the kids, his mom, she didn't come to the part where he thought that she was. His phone died. He used my phone to call his mom. And by the end of it, I said that, the mom, I waited with the kid until his mom came to pick him up. She was so thankful that she sent me a text saying that she appreciated me getting in contact with her and letting her know what was going on with her son. And I said, this is not called for judgment on the mother's part. This is about showing care for others. And I was glad that I could assist by simply being there. So in saying that, I think that it's just the way that, like I said, I like to show up in spaces. I like to show up in the world and be my true authentic self in any way that I can be. And what you get, what you see is really what you get. What you hear from me is no faking about it. I'm doing all these things. I do those things. And then I come home and I cook, and my husband cooks as well. But again, I'm taking care of my kids while writing papers, staying up to whatever amount of time in the mornings. I'm in my dissertation, the introduction to my dissertation phase. So I will be going for orals, I think, in July of this year. We're supposed to be going to our residency sites. Again, COVID has stopped some of that, but we're supposed to be going to a residency site. I'm supposed to be going to the Gambia. So those are some of the things that I have in this upcoming, months. If people are looking to get in contact with me, here's my contact information, looking for ways to connect. My Instagram, Instagram, website, or contact me via email. And that is it. So I will stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Rakisha. You've taken us on a journey of your life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I see there's quite a lot of information that you shared with us. So
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about, you consider yourself a multidisciplinary artist. You've covered quite a bit.
Mhm.
I was introduced to you during metal sculpting on,
Yep.
on the stoop. And now you've got videos you've shared, you've got performances that you've shared. So as a multidisciplinary artist, tell us about which one you're drawn to the most. Has it been an evolution from the time you started to where you are now?
So as a multidisciplinary artist, I think for me is by any, medium necessary. So whatever medium I need, and I let my work speak to me. So I still am doing those sculptures. It was my intention to do 10 of them. That was 10 years ago. I only have 4 of them done. But in between time, it still gives me and allows me a chance to, I think, talk to people, talk about what it is. And that sculpture that you're talking about is called My Black is Beautiful. But it was about Black women showing up in spaces. And then even though we're not physically there, our presence is still felt. Again, our spiritual beings, again, our power that we, hold still stays in those spaces. And so that was kind of what that work was about. And I'm still working on it. Some of the sculptures are hanging up down in the basement for when I actually present them at other spaces. So.
All right, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I noticed that in the protesting and stuff piece, all of those were done in black and white. Is there a significance to why you did those in black and white versus color?
I did them in black and white just to focus on like the message that was there. So it wasn't really about making it pretty. It wasn't about, making it aesthetically pleasing in a way, but really just like about the message. Here it is in black and white. Don't shoot, thank Black women. Like that's what it is. So.
Okay. And I also noticed that quite a bit of reference to your family.
Yes.
As well as inclusion of your family in the work.
Yep.
So obviously there's some influences. So can you tell us a little bit about how your family, both the children and husband, as well as siblings,
yeah. I was about to say family, siblings, husband. I was raised in a military background, again, which is in my bio. Mm-hmm. And so in saying that, that means that everybody becomes your family in a way, because we weren't able to stay in one place for long. So the bonds that we created and the spaces that we created those in, it informed the way that we actually showed up in spaces. And so again, my family is very important to me and a very important part of my life. So because of that, that's why, again, my family is going to be a part of whatever it is that I do. So if I'm going somewhere, they're coming along if they can.
So there's a question that came through the chat. Many of your artworks employ photography. Do you see photography and words as primary expressive form?
Oh, I guess I would have to say yes, but I don't necessarily even consider myself a photographer. I use the photographs as an art form to be able to create a picture. And that picture that I'm creating is deeper than what the picture can actually say. So that's why I use the words to accompany it, because the words, I think, give a deeper understanding of where I'm coming from. And a lot of times it has spiritual connotations to it. It's not just, again, looking at the picture and what it is what you see. It actually is the way that I'm, perceiving things, looking at things, and, thinking about things.
So in addition to your Instagram work, what other work are you actually doing now?
I actually
I know you have a laundry list.
Oh my goodness.
Of engagements, but when it comes to your practice, your art practice, any other things you want to share that you're doing?
Yeah, I just
mediums you're experiencing with.
Yeah, I just picked up some clay. So I just picked up some clay the other day, and I was doing it with my students. So I decided to get my hands dirty the other day. My son Jordan, he stayed home from school, so he said he wanted to do a portrait as well. So we both were dealing with clay, and I'm doing this face of my little niece, but we'll see how it turns out, because this is my first time experimenting with it from in a long time. So it's not that I haven't used ceramics and clay before, but it's been a while.
What I can appreciate about you is that you will experiment and explore all the mediums, and then what feels right when it feels right, you'll go with it. I mean, that's the best of creativity. Let me just check over here. It says, when you work with veterans to make art, how does that unlock their experience for healing? And you mentioned Wounded Warrior Project.
Yeah, so I think what it does is that it gives them a way to look at how it is that, you know, they can create their own form of healing as well. So it's not just about like, oh, going to the doctor, or, you know, it's like taking this holistic approach, I think. And then at the same time, learning a new skill or picking up a skill that they've had that they maybe let go. And it's offering other ways to be able to use art as that form of healing.
Okay. What about artist practice as mom?
Oh my goodness.
Because I actually saw, it was a program on Artbound a while ago, and I think I sent you that video. It was a series of women artists who were moms and how they have to juggle both. And I know you do that all the time, and being able to explore and experiment and mom. I've noticed you bring them into the fold of what you're doing. So what would you say to someone who was, let's say, a new mom or a new artist, and they wanted to do it, but felt like they couldn't? What would you tell them?
Yeah. So the first thing is that don't be so hard on yourself. And I'm saying that because I know when I first had Zion, I wasn't doing art as much because I was working for the state. But then when I had Zion and Jordan, I became a domestic engineer, is what I like to tell people. It's much more fancier than a stay-at-home mom. So, and seeing that I, you know, wanted to make sure that I was still doing something with art, but at the same time, I think it was that Jordan was maybe 8 months and he was nursing, and I went to a restaurant and Linda Day Clark was there with Joyce Scott. And so she said, well, you know, how long have you been, you know, doing art? And I said, you know, all my life. And he's like, well, are you still doing the practice? And I said, no. And I felt bad because I hadn't been able to create. And Linda Day Clark, and I have to tell her this, like every time I see her, I was like, you inspired me so much on that day. So I'm going to share this piece of wisdom that she gave me. She said, well, you know, I didn't start creating again until my last son went to kindergarten and he was 5. So again, I went back and to start doing art when Jordan was around a year and a half. So I was like, I'm doing okay, you know, with being able to do that, but it definitely takes a support system to be able to do it. And then also I think, you know, setting time aside. And then the other thing is to be able to include your kids in that work, then they'll respect it more because they want to do the work as well. And I think when they see that you're doing the work and they're doing the work, they have their own practice that they can then get into. So like Jordan, he'll go to the side and start, you know, creating on his own. And that's why I'm taking pictures constantly of his work. Zion goes upstairs and he starts building, or again, going over to the side to do his own piece, or he wants to get on Facebook Live and he starts creating videos. So it's different ways to engage, I think, your kids in those, you know, ways that we create together.
Okay. So I know that you're working on the PhD.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the tools and the exploration going on. So what are we seeing for next phase career for Rakisha once the PhD is in hand and you have all this background and experience in all these different mediums and all the community and advocacy work? How do you roll that up, if you choose to, into the next level or next phase of your career?
Yeah. So right now, and I call myself not only a multidisciplinary artist, but also an international community artist, because whenever I've traveled internationally, I've also incorporated something with art. And so because my dad was in the military, again, I was a military child, and we traveled. When I got older, I actually joined the military myself, which is why I'm a vet. And so travel has always been a part of my practice. And so I will be traveling. I will be traveling, spreading messages of whatever it is that, like I said, because things, you know, they call me. My art calls me. I'm called to do a certain work. Lauren Hill has been calling me lately, not right now, but Lauren, if you hear me, she said, you know, I'm looking for these people. Whenever I find them, you know, whoever is out there, you know, and until I find them, then I'm gonna just do what I have to do. And I think in that way, sometimes, you know, I have to set myself aside or apart from other people and things that are happening so that I can be used to spread whatever that message is that I'm supposed to be doing. So, you know, whatever, you know, God lead, whatever way I'm led. one of my cohort members, she told me, she said, you know, what the president told me one time, you know, whenever you are doing good things and whenever you have good things going on, good things come to you. She said, and I see that for you. And so it wasn't even something that he told me, but the fact that he told her that, and she said she saw that happening for me. I'm just walking into spaces and people are, you know, asking me to come and talk. One person said, oh, you should be a motivational speaker. You know, another person, again, when I was in a place, she said, you don't look like you are from around here. And I said, again, quickly to myself in my head, I was like, you have no idea. You know, so it's those things that people can recognize, that when I get a chance to, if I only stay here, I don't have a chance to impact change. But when I'm able to travel and again, take my gifts wherever it is that I go, they will follow me.
What a message. What a message. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. You have shared your life story with us, and now we know who you are, and we'll look forward to what you have to bring to us in the days and months ahead. So I thank you for sharing this experience with the Joshua Johnson Council. Thank you, neighbor, friend, for being able to do this for us. I apologize for our delays earlier. Technical difficulties allow us to stretch, right? And shape and shift into what we need to be at a time we need it most. So I do thank you so much. It was an honor to speak to you, to have you share with us this evening. I don't know if any of our Joshua Johnson Council members have any additional questions, and I know it's 7:43. But I just want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening, Lakeisha. And we had your feedback was on the last slide, and there were some things posted in on Facebook in the comments for all to see. So they'll know how to reach out to you.
Okay.
Again,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to hearing and seeing more from you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you all this evening for joining us this evening. Again, this is another one of Joshua Johnson Council's JJC Talks, our artist series that we have coming. And next month, there will be another one. And so just look out for what we have on the calendar, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.